So just a little prelude. This video is longer than usual. It's an invitation to sit and be walked through some of the making sense of the chaos that we are moving through at the moment. So we are in disclosure, finally. Things are coming to light, and a lot of it looks like darkness. A lot of it is very dark. It's hard to sit with, it's hard to see. People are struggling and will struggle to process because it's not easy to process. So I just wanted to preempt that this video is a support. It is a little bit of guidance in terms of how we navigate this going forward, and a little bit of an unfolding into how we get through, because we have a choice point right now as this comes to light for huge transformation within humanity, within the collective field. This is where, if we navigate it with skill and with grace and with love, we get to open our hearts to deep compassion, we get to be there for each other, and we get to walk each other home. And, this is my wish, this is my will, and this is why I have created this video. So as disclosure comes through the Epstein files, it's not just paedophilia, it's deeper, it's darker, and, it's systemic, and we have to move through that. We have a choice, we have an opportunity to move through that. And so I don't go into the darkness in the video, but I do hold space for it to be processed and for us to move through collectively, and for us to reframe it into the rebirthing and the newness that comes with this deep heart opening and this deep compassion for humanity, for our soul energies, our reason for being here on earth at this time. It's huge transition that we're moving through, and it can be exciting, it can be nourishing, it can be rewarding, and we don't have to go through it on our own. So while it's an individual journey, it's a collective journey, and there are always people who have walked a few steps ahead of each of us. And so, let's be there for each other. And if this video resonates, if it's helpful in any way, I'm glad I did it. I felt really called to speak to this time, and to put something in the field that just can hold those people that are awakening to the reality that we have known becoming an illusion. So we have an opportunity to create the reality that we want, but we can't bypass, we can't transcend, we have to go through it. And the best way to do that is, with heart, with each other, and remember that our light is a stabilizing factor in all of this, and there is a new earth birthing, and there is, a newness in each of us birthing and waiting. So, yeah, our time is now. Sending all my love. Take what resonates, and if you feel it's appropriate to share with anyone that is struggling right now, then please do. Hello, I'm back. I'm going to invite you to settle in for this video. I'm going to take my time with this video in an intention to create stabilization and to talk about what we are moving through individually, of course, and as a collective at this time. We are in interesting times. And so I am starting to be more and more aware. I switched off from the news, the collective, several years ago, because I couldn't bear the false information and the fear-based narratives and the mass psyops and control that were being projected through the media. And so I've pretty much switched off. Interestingly, this week, I can see that some of what I became aware of then is now bleeding through into the mainstream. It's interesting, the narratives that are are arising, because there will always be a twist on things as the system that attempts to govern and maintain a sense of control over the people will, of course, still grapple for that control. However, my heart is aligned with a new way of being, a truthful and authentic way of being. My work, for those of you who don't know me, I chartered as a counselling psychologist in 2004 and have been working in the field of healing, of relationships, trauma. I worked in private practice for most of those years, having spent a bit of time in the NHS and in residential drug rehabilitation centres. So my heart has always been in with service to the pain and the suffering in the world. I've never been able to disconnect from suffering when I've seen it. My heart's always been open to, I guess, the desire to bring things back into harmony or balance or some kind of healing. And I started to work with various belief modalities and energy psychology modalities, and my work transformed. And now I work as an intuitive counsellor and healer. So that's my background. So the place I'm coming from with the intention of this video is to open the field to our collective potential for healing at this time of what is being spoken about in terms and what we're starting to see in reality in terms of huge disclosure. So I think we'll begin by acknowledging that when we first see the levels of darkness, when the reality that we thought we knew becomes an illusion, or we realize it was an illusion, it can be very destabilizing for our bodies, for our nervous systems, within our relationships, for those that can see and those that can't see, those that don't want to see, those that see a reality through a different lens. It's not necessarily they don't want to, but they can't see it. It's not in their field. And so it can create separation. And I think that's probably why I'm wanting to do this video now. I'm going to let it flow because I know I have things to say and it will find its flow if I just surrender to allowing it to be spoken in. So the first thing I wanted to acknowledge is that it's not easy. It's not easy when our worldview becomes fractured. It's not easy when the things that we thought were true and were real are not, or are part of some mind control program. And so we have to somehow move beyond the disbelief, because the disbelief keeps us in the story, it keeps us in the narrative, and it keeps us in a degree of separation. And so if there are things that you are seeing now, I think particularly regard the Epstein files, and I think within the stuff coming through within the pop culture and various levels of disclosure. And if what you are seeing is deeply disturbing, our bodies have to calibrate that. And otherwise it creates, like if we can't process it, or we don't know how to process it, or there's no one that we can talk to about it, we can't make sense of it, it doesn't compute, it's not our reality, What we're seeing is contrast that I spoke about in the last video that I did around sovereignty in relation to unity. So we are seeing contrast. We're learning about the depths of depravity of some individuals and how widespread this is and has been. And it is disturbing. It can be alarming. It can really trigger the nervous system. I remember when myself and my partner, my husband, first discovered this, and we had many sleepless nights, feeling sick. It's a lot to process. And as an empath, for me, highly sensitive, I can't just put this stuff down. And I think, there's a lot of us like that. And as we become more open-hearted, we become more sensitive, and these things can be hard to process. So I want to, A, acknowledge that, and B, help us move beyond the disbelief and the needing everyone else to know. Because people will see it in their own time as and when they're ready, and some people are not ready to see it, and some people don't have to see it. It's not a place that they need to go to. For those of us, so if you're listening to this, on some level you are sensitive, you are working on yourself, you're here to create the new. That's very much my role. I'm here to hold frequency, be a stabilizer, potentially a guide to bring in the frequencies for a new way of doing things, opening us up through the infinite source potential of who we are, so that we can build, so we can re-empower ourselves to build new systems. So we become sovereign. We don't remain dependent, if we have been dependent on the systems that, there are some good people working in those systems, but a lot of the doctrine, the infiltration is quite deep. And so there's a movement away from things that don't serve us, things that restrict our sense of who we are, our freedom to choose our own divine intelligence, when that's negated, and the control system places a hand on freedom of expression, on truths, when truths get buried, when research gets buried, when people are gaslit. From what I've seen of the media, it's very hard sometimes to discern and know what's true and what's real, and what's a story and a narrative, and what's slightly twisted and what's a blatant lie. So to move beyond the disbelief, to move beyond the not knowing, to move beyond the place that we're being put in right now, which is not knowing what's real and what's not. And I don't think it's any coincidence that we're, in these last few weeks, I've seen a blossoming of fake YouTube accounts with some really beautiful spiritual teachers. I saw one this morning of Brecker Goldsmith, astrologer, and it was total AI. It wasn't her. And it's really disconcerting in terms of, it can be really disconcerting in terms of what's real and what's not. However, you have, as divine human, which we all are, whether that's in awareness, activated or not, we have an ability to be able to feel and sense from your heart space, which is your truth radar in so many ways, what is real and what is not, right? And to move out of the headspace and needing to figure it out or not being able to process it, into, right, is there truth in this? 2, is this for me? And 3, then what do I do with this? So when we move out of story and narrative, and this is part of my work, this is what I do with clients, because we, as a child, we take on stories, we take on beliefs, whether it's, the typical kind of, not good enough, not lovable, not smart enough, not pretty enough, I can't do that, that's for these people, that's not for me. All these narratives, all these stories, we have to undo, we have to unpick, because the belief structures are part of the false matrix program that has infiltrated our minds, and we live in a mental universe, and so we construct and we create the realities through not just the mind matrix, right? The mind matrix has a strong hold on us until we become conscious, until we have the ability to sense, to feel, to discern, I don't like that, or there's something that's causing contraction in me, or there's something that's not for me, or I don't resonate with that person, or I can't connect with that person, I can't feel what they're saying is true. So when we have that and we activate that and we utilize that, that's your inner guidance system. You will have your gut responses, your survival triggers and responses that can be based on past experiences, and sometimes can trigger us more into a fear response than is helpful. However, your heart, it also does keep us safe. Your heart, on the other instance, looks for resonance, looks for heart connection, looks for who's on my page, right? Where can I be, where's my tribe? Where can I be accepted? Where are people going to be able to see me? And where can I express myself in a way that feels safe for me? Where I can discover more of who I am, and I can contribute in a way that makes this world a better place, right? Most of us have huge amounts of love and compassion, and empathy, right? It's part of the fundamental human structure, what makes us human. And yes, there are the psychopaths, and yes, there are the narcissists who will preserve at any cost their own egoic structures, usually for a fear that they are deeply flawed, and they don't want anyone to see that or expose that. That's the narcissist. There are those that will just, place strong judgments on people and decide that they know what's best for everybody. We've seen a lot of that over the last 5 years. Say no more. So, in order to move out of the disbelief, the shock, we have to stay in body, we have to feel. We have to let ourselves feel and breathe at a pace that we can handle. If we need support around that, then ask for support around that from somebody that has just walked a few steps ahead of you. We're all walking this path. There is going to be a mass awakening or a mass awareness of some of the lies and the deceit that have been around. We've all been deceived at some point, and we all wake up to it at some point, perhaps. But if that's happening for you now, I wanted to come in and say, yes, you're not on your own. This is happening collectively. It will influence the collective field and the collective consciousness. But how we hold this, how we respond to this now, means a huge catalyst for us as a potential into, oh my goodness, right now I can see, and rather than being in fear and disillusionment and disbelief, we also have an opportunity to process, to feel, to breathe. We have to move it through. We have to acknowledge that there has been, do we call it evil? Do we call it misaligned? Like, whatever we call it. I don't like to judge things or put labels on things. But it is what it is, right? And there will be attempts to soften it. There will be attempts to bury some of it. There will be people brought into it that are nothing to do with it, to maintain the old narrative and story. What matters is that it has been happening. Let's just call it for decades. I'm sure it's more than that. It's been happening without our consciousness. Most of us, if you have been born into this, bless you. If you have been dragged into this, I have met people who have, and that's an awful lot of processing, and that's an awfully bright soul that chooses to transform that energy. So what I will say is, it's always been there because of the light that is happening now, that is pouring through the solar frequencies, through our transitions of these cycles of the equinoxes, this evolution, this ascension process, the planetary ascension, it is happening. The human resonance on the earth is getting higher and higher and higher. The earth nodes, the earth grids are more connected than ever, are wider than ever. Like, the earth is starting to hold frequency. Yes, she's purging too. The whole climate story is another story that, yes, we're going through big earth changes. Is this man-made? Is this carbon dioxide, like the life force that gives earth its life? There's a lot of science that's been buried. So again, what's real, what's not, we have to feel into, we have to discern. So I will just continue now to offer a breathing space for transmutation, because that feels like it would be helpful to do. And then I'm going to bring in some of the chakra cards and welcome any guidance in terms of what we do with this and how we process this. Because what is really important is that we don't just buy into all and every narrative and keep regurgitating it, because there's a whole lot of darkness there that we need to not really focus on right now. Because what's happening on this side is that there's a whole lot of light and there's a whole lot of beautiful things happening. And we are moving into a shift into this age of Aquarius, which is about decentralization. It's about new systems. It's about heart energy. It's about new ways of doing things. So this rising, the light that is coming through, the light that's present within us, that's stirring within you, all of us, is shining a light on the darkness. These things have nowhere to hide now. The age of technology, even if it was brought in, even if all of the AI is brought in to create the control system. So there's cameras everywhere now, and we have, the digital IDs and all of this stuff, right? So an attempt to control in the name of climate. It was global warming, wasn't it? But they had to change that to climate change. So even if all of this stuff is coming in now, it also enables, because we are sovereign, we are children of the divine, we are eternal souls. Our heart energy, the capability, the possibility of us to build, to create, to have a voice on a mass consciousness level is incredible, is awesome, is happening. So, the very technology that they're attempting to use to maintain control, they being, let's call them the globalists and leave it there, those that want a globalized control system, is also, has a positive polarity, which means that all information is available to anyone that actually wants to find it. So, ignorance doesn't help us. Knowledge is power. But when we've processed the reality of what it is that we have been living through, and we can see it for what it is, and we can neutralise it and realise that it has no power over us, and we can learn from the contrast that I am not that, and I would never do that. I do this, and my heart opens, and my heart expands, and my heart gives. Then we have an ability to create something quite extraordinary between us. The great rising of consciousness is happening now. And as you take the spiritual journey, as you move on the spiritual journey, it's not easy, because we cannot spiritually bypass. We cannot sit in the cloud and pretend that everything is okay anymore, because it's not. It hasn't been. And we're going to have to make some choices for ourselves in terms of whether we want our freedoms and whether we are able to choose. And if there is another choice, we have to find what that choice is, or we have to sense it or feel it for ourselves. So I'm not telling anyone what to do, but I am saying that there is always a choice. There's always a choice, even if that's an internal choice, taking sovereignty over your emotions and over your mind and over your body, what you put in your body, how you live your life. We have a choice over that. But it's only an informed choice if we're able to see clearly, willing to see clearly, where the hijackings on consciousness, and that's exactly what it is, have taken place. So, with deep love and reverence for humanity, for the people, for the everyday men and women, for our children, God bless them, those that are in the schooling system, who are taught what they've been instructed to be taught. Freedom of thought, freedom of intellect. Welcome debate. Really welcome debate. I think the issues are that that a lot of things are benign, and then they become politicized. Once they're politicized, there's an agenda. So just have a think about what has been politicized and why. Why has it become politicized? Because everything is done to fracture the minds, the hearts, the spirit. But that's one thing that that belongs to us. No one should have power over your soul connection, your spirit, your heart energy. That's yours. That can't be taken from you. So your breath, your heart resonance, your mind, not attaching to the darkness or the narratives or the stories, the ability to see it, the ability to process it, the ability to neutralise it and release it and understand it's just contrast, right? We don't have to fight battles ever. We don't have to, if it's not our battle to fight, right? Sometimes things are placed on our doorstep, and that's part of our growth, and it's part of our reflections. And, sometimes we have to profoundly take our power back. But a lot of the time, a lot of the battles are not ours to fight. And that's not turning a blind eye. If we place our light, our consciousness into these dark systems, we're giving that energy, right? And it's not always for the highest good for us and for the people around you. You know, sometimes souls will have, this is my job, this is my role, I need to do this. And deep bow to you if that's your calling. But to rally into all that is wrong in the world, to put energy and focus into all that is wrong in the world, takes away your ability to create that which is right, that which is true, that which is loving, that which can have a huge impact. And so when we feel helpless or hopeless, and we are struggling to process, we're struggling to allow the feelings of disgust, of anger, of rage, of grief for the children, for their adult children, for all those that have been hijacked, blackmailed. When we're struggling to process that, try to drop into stillness. Try to drop into quiet. Try to give yourself what I call sacred space to process. Right? You can put boundaries around it, sacred boundaries around, right, I'm just going to sit with this for half an hour. I'm not going to carry it with me in the back of my mind all day and let it affect my mood and my frequency and, not know what to do with it and just be angry with my partner, my employer, the person driving the car next to me, whatever that may be, right? Responsibility for your feelings is really important right now. So create sacred space to sit with it, to feel it. And what may come up may be tears, it may be sickness, but just breathe with it. Sometimes that's enough to be present with it, to honor it, right? You're honoring your feelings. Let them all be welcome. We're not used to welcoming anger. We're not used to welcoming rage we may feel, shame we may feel. But that's how it integrates and that's how it moves through. We have to give it a voice, even if it's just for us to hear, to diary write, journal, to just be present with it. And if you can do it from the space of love, right? Loving yourself as a self-loving act, to bring light, to bring compassion to the rage, to bring compassion to the disbelief, to the shock, then there's a softening. And maybe in the first instance, that's all that we can hope for. And maybe that's enough. It's just to allow the softening of the feeling, the acknowledgement of it, that it's present and that it's real. Because when we can be with what is, we can honor it as a process. We don't need to, wrap it all up and be done with it. It's like, right, okay, great, I processed that. What's next? This is a human journey and it unfolds little by little. And we move up spiral by spiral, octave by octave, right? And we will come back and we will revisit things. It's like peeling the layer of an onion, as they talk about in Gestalt therapy. So we deal with one piece, we soften it. And then the next piece might come along. We don't have to dig to find it. We just have to listen when it's present. and sit with it and breathe with it and honor it and recognize it. And as we breathe, we will find that it will move. In my book, I've only got the card deck with me at the moment, but it's a similar, Working with Chakras for Belief Change. I talk about resistance as part of the change process. So we move through a little bit of resistance before we come into, this is talking about the healing insight method, but it's the same principle. Before we come into alignment, and then we allow ourselves to embody the new, which is an integration process, we will come across, I don't want to sit with this, I don't want to look at that, I don't want to feel that, but we carry it around with us. So unless you create sacred space for it when it's coming up, you'll carry it. And we don't need to carry it because it's not ours to carry. Yes, it's part of the human collective consciousness. Although sometimes I wonder whether it's human at all, but that's another story. But it's part of what we have experienced, and it's certainly part of what some humans have allowed and, have turned a blind eye to through the likes of wants of greed and power and the negatively polarized aspects of the patriarchy, which is in its collapse, right? That's what we're seeing. And that's really important that you receive that, you hear that, and you get that. The patriarchy is collapsing. We have witnessed, we have been through a huge rising of the divine feminine, and not in this kind of feminist way. The true divine feminine, the receptivity, the beauty, the joy, the compassion, the heart opening space, the remembrance of what it is to be authentic and divine and in truth and in honor and in love. So that's awakening, not just in the women, but in the men too. We can see with eyes of compassion, we feel more and more, and we are allowing ourselves to feel more and more, to move out of the mind and the structure and the organization, and to bring in the life force and the essence and the creativity that is within all of us, male, female, that is that kind of more feminine, divine life force that births new life, that gives new life to things. So that's what's emerging, this desire to reconnect with the earth, the land, the water, beauty, artwork, poetry, the things that touch us in an emotional way, the things that elicit, something that stirs the spirit. And so, we're able to access that once when we've stopped avoiding dealing with the difficulty, right? There's all of it. Through spiritual growth, there is expansion. We don't just ascend, we expand. We start to feel all of it, the light and the dark. We know that it's all part of the one, and we are neutralizing it, we're integrating it, we're bringing it all back to center, back to the 0 point. So in this infinity that I work with the healing insight method, we're bringing it back to center. We're coming out of polarization, right? So in the 3D linear reality, and that's absolutely shifting, without question, it's shifting. Our sense of memory, our sense of times, it's shifting for so many people. So, the energies are lifting. We are moving into a different way of experiencing ourselves and experiencing life. So we have an opportunity, as the darkness is revealed, to visit it, to not stay there because it doesn't serve you, and to bring it back into neutrality. And so we can positively polarize and not stay in the positive. We have to include all of it. This is the infinity loop. It's, it brings us back. It's the heaven on Mother Earth, the balancing of the two poles, and we are shifting and we're coming back to that 0 point. And that 0 point, the central point of neutrality, is the point of creation. So when we can get into that, when we can get into the stillness, when we're not pushed or pulled by anything, and we can go, I'm gonna do this for us now. We can go into the center and into the heart space, into your divine spark. I'm gonna lead us into a process. And before I do, I did want to, sorry, this is a longer video than usual. I'm going to bring in a message because I can feel that something wants to come in for us in relation to this. Like, this is not the end of times. This is not all. Now, it's got the main throat chakra card on the front. Maybe it's just me speaking up more freely than I have before. But it's time. It's time. And sometimes people can't hear it, don't want to hear it, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. But sometimes people are ready and they want to know that there are others that have walked their path and are okay and are thriving, and that there are new things being built. This is interesting. The cards are going everywhere. It's chaos, right? We're in chaos right now. And you can see the grounding card. Really important when we feel discombobulated. And the self-worth card is where I actually stopped, which is interesting. I wasn't expecting that, but it's about nurturing. So grounding, really important. Okay, when we feel discombobulated, when it's all too much, we have a potential to spin out and feel like we can't cope. And then we lose our internal resources, right? So we are resourceful when we're in body, when we can breathe, when our brains are not fractured and we're not spinning out. So we've got to get into body. So the best way to ground is meditation is so helpful. It's not the best time to be walking on the earth, but it's possible. But literally bring your awareness into your body, into your root chakra. So where you are seated, your legs, foot massages, and your breath. Breath is key. Breath helps move awareness. It helps move energy. It brings life force. It brings oxygen to the places that you focus on. So just breathing into the body, exhaling down perhaps, or bringing the breath all the way down. And it's about letting yourself land, letting yourself find stillness, letting yourself be in your body. And sometimes that does mean you connect with your feelings. And just letting yourself land, okay? So slowing things down, calming things down. You can imagine a tree. You can imagine yourself as a tree. Feel your roots moving into the earth. I talk about the Earth Star chakra in my book. It's a really important chakra to connect with. Possibly the most important. I don't know. Possibly. It helps us into stillness, into presence, into our connection, and being human on earth. And it's the point that I feel when I connect, I feel my whole body goes, oh. And I can land, and it's like the earth's got me. And she, as a super planetary consciousness, living and breathing with all this life force that sustains us, that we are born of, part of, we've got a support system there when we're connected through the Earth Star chakra. So that's really beautiful to just remind yourself of. So if you're feeling very discombobulated or you've got no place to go, back to earth. Yeah. This end times thing, so it's just coming in to speak about now. And this, it's a little bit heavy, but we're going through a heavy thing right now. So many people will focus, many prophecies have focused on these end times. It's been certainly prophesized, it's been coming, but the cycles of the precession of the equinoxes, Cryon talks about very well, has done for years and years. It's a cycle, but we are in a cycle of evolution. So what is happening is the old earth, the old patriarchy is dying. So when we're attached to the old system, we're going to feel the pain of that. If we're dependent upon the old system, we'll feel the pain of that. It's stressed right now. So that's what's dying off. The planet is not dying. She's in a phase of renewal, and she is purging and releasing old energy. With every death comes a rebirth. And this is so important. The cycles, it's always, even a yearly cycle, right? Everything comes through spring, where we are now in the northern hemisphere, and things start to open up and grow, and the sun comes more, and then it fully expresses its creativity, and then it starts to wane because we can't stay in that full amount of sun all the time because things dry up. It's too much heat, and so it wanes again, and it goes back to ground. The leaves fall off the trees, everything dies off, but it doesn't die. It goes back to ground, it regenerates, it recycles. We go through a process of hibernation, and then all of those riches, all of those nutrients come and they rebirth. And we're doing that on a major cycle right now. Major planetary cycle. Cosmic cycle, major cosmic cycle. So it's big. It is big. And it's great if you are able to stabilize yourself, because we then stabilize the collective with each other. There are many beautiful points of light that are anchoring on the planet a stabilized frequency for this new energy and this new earth. And so when you're open to that, and you can find that, and you can let it birth in you, which is what's happening, where this awakening, this spiritual awakening, where we're transmuting and clearing our attachment to the old programs, our beliefs that don't serve us, and so on. So we come into the new, we allow the new to rebirth. So it keeps coming in, so I'm going to have to say it. Suicide. Some people feel that they cannot cope and will leave this life. When people who I've worked with have been suicidal, there is always a part of them that they are ready to let go of. And if we can find the part and honour it and bid it farewell and find the new rebirth in them, then they come through. So it's the same cycle. So I'm having to speak this in right now. So if anyone is feeling like everything's gone to pot and nothing is working, and there's a helplessness or a hopelessness, what part of you are you done with? What part of you are you ready to release so that you can rebirth? It may be as a collective we're done with being helpless or being hopeless, and we need to speak the hope in, and we need to speak the light, the true light, not the false light, not the bypassing light, but the light that enables us to really be genuinely authentic and whole. To be able to sit. I don't know any soul that is, that I deeply respect and honour, that's holding light, that hasn't been through it. Because we do transform through the suffering. We do transform by being able to sit with the dark, the difficulty, the pain, the suffering. And we do transform. And I do also believe that we don't have to do it that way. when we get out of this polarized reality and we stop learning through contrast. I do believe there's a point where we get to where we learn because we want to, because we've tapped into that source potential and we know who we are and we want to experience more of that. And so allow that expansion. And this is all about collapsing fear at the end of the day. It's all about sitting with the fear, moving beyond the fear, realizing that fear is just an emotion that can be disabling, that has come through the generational experiences, through our past life experiences as well. But that this time now is not that time then, and that this is a genuine evolutionary cycle. So if we ride that wave of hope, if we open to what if things are working out better than expected, even if they try with the controls, what if my mind becomes sovereign, my heart becomes sovereign, my emotions, I have emotional resilience with and for, and I can deeply take care of myself and others. If I extend that care and that compassion out to everybody, and we can create ultimately whatever we want to create. If we come to realize our power, which is our light, which is our consciousness, which is our will aligned with divine will. When that alignment's there, we're unstoppable. Because we're in honor, and it's important that we remain in honor. It's divine law. It's living from heart. And it's what will transform everything. So, self-worth, nurture yourself. You are worthy. Listen to your needs and your desires and honor yourself. Okay? You don't need my permission, but I'm going to give it to you, because if you need to hear it from someone, then I'm going to say it. You have a right to listen to your own needs, to your own desires and wants, and to give it time to create sacred space for it. And you're worthy of that. I give myself the time, space, and loving kindness that I need to make manifest all that I am. I discover my true self by going inward. It's not what we do in the world, because sometimes that's ego-based. It's ego-based until the ego is more dissolved and is aligned. I will say we need the ego. It's how we navigate life. It's how we show up. We don't need an elevated ego. We don't need a false sense of ego or identity. We need to be our authentic selves. But that is discovered by going inward. Who are you? The journey of knowing thyself. So I discover my true self by going inward and becoming my own best friend. Okay, really important. So if you were, this is where, for a lot of people, starting out on the journey, but it comes in from time to time. If you become your own best friend, if you become your own coach, when you're having thoughts that say, I can't do this, or this is useless, or people don't get me, or whatever stories you're telling, right, that don't need to be told. Stop, click, cancel. Invite in the best friend. Invite in your best coach or mentor or your higher self, the person that loves you deeply, that can see you for who you are, that's compassionate towards you, developing that sense of self-love. And just invite them. What would you say to that? What would your own best friend, true best friend, authentic best friend, that's not going to tell you what you want to hear, but tell you what you need to hear, say? Okay, let's get to it. So your beautiful, beautiful divine spark and heart energy is present. I'm at 54 minutes, so let's wrap this up. So sit comfortably. Let's just get into a heart connection, because we can, and because the power is here. So breathing into your heart center, into your body. Embodiment is really important. So bringing your breath inward, feeling into your body, feeling your energy inside your body, your breath inside your body. Aligning your spine, feeling spaciousness between the vertebrae. So there's a sense of lengthening and of opening. And as you do, it opens your vertical channel. So you have a vertical channel that runs through your, we'll say your crown chakra, but your soul star and above. Connects you to the divine, to source. And moves down through your chakra system, all the way down through the earth star chakra, which is beneath your feet, which connects into Mother Earth. And because we can, let's invite connection to Gaia Sophia, into the new earth. And so we be in that in-between space, the channel, the conduit, the meeting place, the merging point of the energies of earth and of source, the heavens. And so the earth energy will rise, will ascend, the yin energy, soft, feminine, rising into the heart, holding, the nurturing. And the source energy will descend. And both can meet in the heart, and both will extend out to each other. The earth is not separate from the heavens. She's very much a part of the cosmos. But both move through us and with us. And now let's drop into heart, into your heart center. So you may just sense or feel a pulse. It may be just below the physical heart, more to the center. Just feel the guidance. I invite the awakening of the pulse, the cosmic heart that beats in alignment with your own heart. And if you allow a deepening, a going inward into that space, sometimes it feels like the whole universe is inside your heart. And in so many ways it is. Your divine blueprints, your divine spark. makes you unique, beautiful, a divine gift sits there. Your divine intelligence. So you may sense this like a point of light, and just breathe there. And I'm going to welcome in the feeling of love, the frequency of love, of compassion that allows our hearts to open. And if there is a person, a place, an animal that you love that helps you access this feeling, then bring that into your heart mind now. Feel it. Let's expand this field of love. From here, you can almost sense the eternality of your soul. There is no condemning. There is no judgment from God, from Source. Life here just gives us experiences. What we do with that, how we transform that, how we use and utilize and access and embody these gifts of creation is our free will. I invite us to align fully with the divine will that moves through you. And to release distortion, false prophets, false teachings, allowing for purity of heart and embodiment of divine truth. And so let fall away that which is not for you, and let arise within you that which you wish to bring forward through frequency, through vibration, through resonance, so that all actions are inspired, are aligned, and are held in divine light. So taking a deep breath, breathing yourself back into presence, into awareness. Thank you for staying with me if you have. If anyone is on this awakening journey and you feel that this would be helpful for them, think that's why this video has come forward, then do pass along. So I will see you next time whenever I feel called to share something. And in the meantime, take good care. Create space for yourself to process. And take it back into the heart. Everything we need really is inside. It's just learning how to access it, and the more you go there, the easier it becomes. And sometimes we enter into the unknown, sometimes we enter into the dark, and sometimes that's where the magic happens, that's where the transformation happens. So trust in the process, the collective process. And if you are a stabilizer, and you've been through this already, then just hold steady. Because always we do this together. All right. Love for now.